I am making this video about adoption and the process. So, curious to see who else is out there that's either in the process of adopting or has adopted um, privately or through an agency. We have been trying for a little bit to go the private route through prospective birth mothers that we have heard about through friends of ours, different scenarios, situations. And it's been no less than an emotional roller coaster because you think you've got something and maybe you buy some things so you can be prepared. Um, even as much as to have a name for the child once they're born, or this may be, we have two situations. One was already nearly a year old, and the other was at the time we heard about the opportunity, the child was not born yet. So, two different scenarios, but both emotionally grueling because the words, these words were even used in a text message to me. I promise she's yours. And you go through the weight of when will it happen? Does the birth mother want to meet first? What does she want out of this or need in order to feel comfortable about this decision? And you go through back and forth of all these kinds of things, and then in both situations to suddenly just be ghosted, like like you never talked to this person before. And it's frustrating because you don't understand. You have so many questions, and you know that you and your wife would do nearly anything to make this transaction happen. And let's face it, call it a transaction. People say, or they don't want to use the words like, well, you're buying a baby. You are buying a baby, whether it's through a private adoption, an adoption agency. The product is the baby. Like, I'm as sentimental and kind hearted as they come, but you can look at it factually and see all that money you're paying towards an agency. Yes, you're doing things like paying for them to build your profile online and market you to prospective birth mothers so that they choose you. The service is what you're paying for, and the product is a baby. So call it what you want to. At the end of the day, you're buying a baby. And I don't feel bad about it one bit. Like, I understand that birth mothers have expenses that they might need help with, and that people have jobs to do, even the people at agencies. I get it. So at the end of the day, the money's not the issue either. It's either being ghosted by private adoption birth mother options that we have, or picking an agency to move forward with. And that's pretty hard because you want to make an informed decision. You want to feel good about it. You want to feel like all the money that you're putting into it is going to be worth it, and that you're going to have a baby at the end of all of this. So, do they have a contract? Um, how long is that contract? What if you don't have a baby at the end of the contract? There's lots and lots of questions. So we've talked to two different agencies in depth about their process and answered all the questions that we had, and even talked to other people that have used the agency and gave their testimony and answered any questions that we had as well. So that was very nice to be able to do. But we are approaching a deadline that we made for ourselves because in this, birth mother seeking networking mess, um, all it's ended up being at the end of the day is an emotional roller coaster because we don't have a baby. And well, I mean, we don't even have the open communication anymore to say, hey, what happened? What's up? Do you need help with something? Are you okay? Is the baby okay? Anything like that, we can't even do because they're unresponsive. So it's frustrating to say the least. But it's all the more reason we told ourselves, let's make a date where if we don't have a baby by this date or we don't have it confirmed, basically at this point, which means signed paperwork. If I don't see you signing a paper to go forward with this process, I'm not just going to take your word for it because we've done that enough to where we're setting a boundary here and saying that March 18th is when we're going to move forward with an agency. So here's our money, work your magic and make it happen. So we're less than 2 weeks away from that. And it kind of feels good and it kind of feels hectic also. And then there's that part in the back of our minds, both of us are thinking, you know what, we're going to go and pay all this money to this agency, and these birth mothers are just going to come out of the woodworks and be like, here's my baby, or where do I sign? And, if only it were that easy. But we have a feeling, sneaky suspicion, that day of or within that week, I'm sure we'll start hearing from some. Um, So we'll just go from there if that happens. But I'd like to know from other people if you have adopted privately or through an agency, um, who you used, how that process went, what state you're in, um, or if you, either way, if you did it, if you're in the process, how it's going for you. I know so far this is only a portion. These are all folders to foster care. That's not an option. And all of that. Like, it's a job in and of itself. So I would love to hear from other people going through this same thing, or have been through it, and just be able to have an open line of communication.